Hi, everyone. My name is Mel Robertson, and I'd like to welcome you to Happiness is Your Own Damn Fault. What we're talking about is how to drop the baggage, increase your frequency, and live a bliss-filled life. Now, I decided to put this summit together because I want you to know that happiness is equally available to everyone, no matter the circumstances that you've endured. So no matter what you've been through, you can choose happiness now, because happiness is your birthright. It is your natural state of being underneath all the baggage you've been dragging around with you for all those years. So I wanted to interview people who are truly happy and get them to share with you their secrets on how they let go of the past, stopped worrying about the future, and started living their bliss. And today I'm excited to welcome Kellie Stone. Kellie Stone is a woman's life purpose visionary, inner journey strategist, and intuitive energy healer. She is also the best-selling author of The Butterfly Payoff, a woman's guide to defining her purpose, fulfilling her dreams, and getting paid for it, and the international best-selling co-author of Success in Beauty, Secrets to Effortless Fulfillment and Happiness. A passionate messenger to women, Kellie's brands, Women's Lifelink and The Butterfly Payoff, changed the lives of women all over the world with a powerful message of hope, empowerment, and living with purpose. Welcome, Kellie.
Hi, Mel. Great to be here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here. So before we jump in, I would love for you just to share a little bit more about your story and how you came to do what you do.
Well, it's kind of a long story. I can't really share it all, but I will, kind of put it in a concise form for you. Basically, I look back over my entire life, and I feel like that I always had this kind of odd ability just to look at issues and problems and things and want to help people solve those problems. Really kind of just a desire to make things more beautiful for people and for the world. And and I played around with different aspects of that in different jobs and different businesses and things like that. But it wasn't until I actually basically got knocked on my butt by life that, I really started to dig deeper into my soul and into who I was and my own purpose. That, started asking the questions, why the hell am I here? Why am I going through this right now? I had a pretty rough, about 12 to 13-year period where I went through pretty much every traumatic thing a person could go through in a very short period of time. I lost 3 very close family members, including my mom, my brother, my grandfather, within about a year, and was a primary caretaker for my mom before she died, and that was very stressful in itself, and had 5 children at home during that period. So, and one of them was only about 6 months old when all of that started. So I basically had that mentality of being, that excellent person, that perfectionist who just wanted to make everybody else's life wonderful and beautiful. Remember, I was the person that wanted to make things more beautiful. So within that, I was pushing and giving and over-accommodating everybody else. And, and during the time period, I just, I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing because I was a mom, I was a wife, I was a daughter, I was, this person who was willing to give of myself and my time, and basically ran myself into the ground, ignored my needs, ignored myself and the depths of who I was and what I really dreamed of. And, nothing wrong with being, a housewife and being a mom and doing all those things. Of course not. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing to live and to participate in the lives of other people. But to the point where I was sick, I developed fibromyalgia and just a very chronic fatigue, chronic daily headache, chronic migraine, and depression. And I was going through that while trying to raise 5 children and handling, there's a very long list of things that happened during this period, but, including financial difficulties. It was very taxing on anybody to go through those things, even that one thing at a time, but you put all those things together, and it pressed me to the edge of the cliff sometimes, I will say that. And I started realizing that that I was laying in bed one day and with a very bad headache, probably on medication. I was in and out of the hospital and just, a lot of things like that, and I was laying there and I thought, what if these headaches have a purpose? Kind of an odd question to ask myself, and it was almost like a trivial question to me at the time. It didn't really have the impact that it would later on. But at that moment, my creative brain got this idea to start writing a novel about this woman who had severe headaches, and her headaches had a purpose. And there was, it's a crime thriller, so there was some interesting details. I'm not going to go into, the plot of my novel, but anyway, it led me to doing something that was a very deep passion of mine my whole life, and that was writing. And I continued to write, and because I was so sick with headaches, I couldn't even type on the computer because it really bothered me. So I had to handwrite. Almost half of the novel I hand wrote. And then I know, right? And then I on the computer. So it was very challenging, but I finished it, and it was one of the most beautiful, wonderful, transcending feelings I ever had, because it was a dream of mine to write a book. And I don't know what it was, Mel. It was like this light just went off in me. It's like I realized in the depths of all that despair and that adversity that I had a choice. That even when you don't think you can do something awesome or, something that requires consistency and perseverance, I felt like I was so down on myself at one point, that I felt like I had wasted my life, and that I was just so depressed, and I couldn't even find the seed of hope. But then after that, that dawn that I had, it was like, you know what, you can do anything you want to do. And then I started to look back over the period of time that I had cared for my mom and my brother and my family, and realized that all of that I did for them was something that required consistency and perseverance and dedication. So all the qualities that I thought that I was wasting or that I didn't have, or that somehow drove me into the ground, were the very ones that ended up being my strengths. And I chose, through a series of a couple other events that happened, was led to start a blog, which was womenslifelink.com. It's still there today. It's my, it's kind of my first baby, online baby. And it's been over about 6 years since the first blog post I put up. And it was just very illuminating for myself mainly. In the beginning, it was just therapeutic. It was putting myself out there. I took chances and continued to write, and it just developed into something that it pulled a passion out of me, to seek out and to find other women who had been through a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff that pulled them into a bog, into a swamp. And they're out there asking for help. They're out there crying out for help. They're out there. And these women aren't necessarily down and outers or anything like that. These are regular, everyday women who have jobs and families and businesses and, beautiful women who have so much going for them, but they are stuck. And I started to develop this women's community, and it just, one thing led to another, and finally just started getting some of the training that I needed to become a certified coach and intuitive healer, and it all blossomed right before my eyes into what now is something that I consider a part of me, and I don't think I could stop doing it. I can't even imagine myself not serving the world in this way now.
I love
so
that.
That's just a little bit about, kind of where I came from, what prompted me to go into serving women in this way. But it's been, and who's learned the most? Me. I've learned the
Mhm.
most about myself. I've been taught the most. I've grown the most. And that's always the way it is. Whenever you put yourself out there for other people, then, it's a mirror. People are a mirror to you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it's been, it's shown me exactly what I've needed to see to take the next steps in my own life. And I give those nuggets and those things, I try to share as much of that as I can with the world and, being transparent and authentic. And that's really the message of empowerment, is just being who you are. And that's where you find your truth and your happiness is right there.
Yeah. Be who you are. I want to take a second just to go back and talk about, you were talking about how you had run yourself into the ground, ignoring your needs. You were really sick. You developed fibromyalgia. You were having chronic fatigue. You were really depressed. And I'd like to just talk about for a second how that shifted and what that was like and what the process was like for you when you finally, started making the decision to do these things for yourself, how that stuff started to fall away and what that was like. So our listeners who are struggling with some of the same things can feel some hope and light at the end of the tunnel that, it will start to shift, and maybe how that looked for you.
Yeah, great point, Mel. That is a really big part of my story, and my message is, in the middle of that adversity is just, grabbing a hold of, even if it's just one little thing. And I remember I was introduced to some people who were really into natural health and, chiropractic and, supplements and eating better. And at that time, the first thing that I did was really look into what I was being drawn to there, and understanding and knowing that my body can heal itself. And there's a reason that it's happening to me. There was a reason all those things were happening. I was not giving my body what it needed in the first place, and then I was also being bombarded by environmental toxins and, all these things that were poisoning me. And I didn't even really realize it at the time, but, just had, so much going on that just, kind of took shortcuts here and there with diet and, all the things that, we can, in the American culture, we can get so, hung up on. So I began to really, back then, I really started taking care of myself. I did the best I could with diet, exercise, supplements. I got a magnetic mattress. I went to the chiropractor. I mean, I actually have an article on Women's Life that is, years old now. And I listed every single thing that I did to get better back then. And it was a really long list. So I was trying really hard. I mean, it wasn't just, and Mel, it didn't happen overnight. It was a process, honestly. Yeah. But it started in my mind. It started in just believing that something could be different. And I licked the fibromyalgia. I mean, I ended it. I mean, there was times, Mel, that I couldn't even, hardly walk to the bathroom in the morning. My hands would be so cramped up and my legs would be so cramped up. I had to literally jump in a hot shower just to be able to move my hands. And it hurt so badly. And that went away. I mean, I completely licked that. And then the headaches started. Kind of one chronic thing after the other, because the core of me, here's the key. The thing, when people have a lot of chronic illnesses, autoimmune diseases, things like that keep coming up, the first clue is that, hey, your body is trying to tell you something. And you can go to the physical aspects, and that's what I did. I went to the physical parts of health first. That's what I was drawn to. That's what I did. So what it did is it shifted that disease or that disease process into another one. Basically, I licked that. I got healthier, so, healed that. And then, because I hadn't dealt with the emotional and the spiritual side of things yet, it was still reoccurring in my life. And I am a believer that if you want to change something in the natural, in the physical, look at the mind, the emotions, and the spirit first. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then things will manifest in the physical. But I did it backwards, okay? So my illness continued in a different way, and it was a really long time, and I just was missing something that was so key. And the day that I figured that out was kind of a culmination of a lot of days. I mean, it wasn't something that happened overnight, because always I feel like the journey that we're on, we'll get to that one passage or that one day, that one step that you take and you feel like, God, it just happened just like instantaneously. But the real deal is that if you look back on your path, you've done a lot of work to get to that step. So,
a lot of causes and effects to get you where you are.
Right, exactly. And so the day that I ended the chronic migraine, that was a glorious day indeed, because I had been dealing with it for a really long time. And I was laying in bed again and had this kind of soulful moment that I just wanted to write down and speak out everything that I had learned from being sick. Everything, every lesson, every pivotal moment that I could think of. And I did it. It was pages long, Mel. It was lengthy. And I spoke it out, and it felt awesome, because I had never done that before. And I knew when you do something different's going to happen. And I did that, and then I got up out of the bed, and I just felt this new, renewed faith and love for myself and for my body, because I had literally hated my body for making me sick for so long and for causing the pain. I had hate thoughts, like I wanted to decapitate myself sometimes.
Right, yeah, I bet.
But I had this overwhelming love for my body. It just came over, and I spoke it. I said, I love you. I love you, body. Just even though I've had so much pain, I still love you. And I walked into the bathroom, and I looked at myself in the mirror. And it was like, mirror work is very powerful. And I hadn't really done it up to that point. I had, had just, a few things here and there that I just, spoke into the mirror. But I went into the bathroom, and I just stared myself down and said, Kellie, I love you. I love you for who you are right now. But I am finished with this season of my life. I have learned everything that I can learn from this disease, and I am done. I had stronger words that I won't say on the air because of TCC laws. But anyway, I spoke very strongly to myself in the mirror in the only way that I could make the point to myself. I said, I'm done. That's it. Drew the line in the sand. And I kid you not that week I came into some information that, again, went back to the physical, but it was about some food intolerances. Started on a Candida cleanse and asked some of the things that I thought I might be intolerant to, including gluten, dairy, and coffee. And after the caffeine withdrawal headache that I had, that night, I was headache-free. It was within a week. And at first, Mel, I was pissed. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I went 13 years with this stupid disease, and it was a food intolerance. But, after I came down from my little heated moment, I realized, no, Kellie, it wasn't just a food intolerance. It was an emotional thing with you. It was a spiritual thing. It was something that you had to learn and figure out. You had to open your eyes and see what was happening inside of you. It was a lot of grief. It was a lot of stored up baggage that I had to let go of. I had to stop hating myself. And the physical showed up when I showed up. When I showed up to my life and stopped avoiding it. When I showed up to the pain and the emotion and the grief that I had, that I refused to feel. I was hiding from all of that trauma, and it was showing up in body distress and chronic headaches, and it was just amazing. And I'm going to be honest and say it's not. I have had some headaches since then, but nothing like that. I mean, I was having 15 headaches a month at least.
Ugh.
And I maybe have one migraine since then, maybe one every 6 months.
Yeah.
If that even. And, yeah, wow, right. So,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, different times, different processes, and it's, I'm still on that path. I'm still healing my body. I'm still healing my mind. I'm still healing my spirit. We're all on that road at different places, and today I choose to be happy. I choose to be positive no matter what life throws me. I was, to kind of, maybe shock everybody again, but I was diagnosed with MS right after Christmas this year. So, okay, well, life, let's just throw her one more thing. Let's see if she can handle that. And, it didn't surprise me because, for whatever reason, the sensitivity of my body has been very, very susceptible to autoimmune things and those types of illnesses. And healing takes a long time, in your body, the cell regeneration, and it didn't surprise me at all. But here's the thing, I did not react like anybody expected. Mm-hmm. I think I floored them in the hospital, and my family, they're like, oh, she's great, she's fine, she's not freaking out at all. Why isn't she freaking out? And I was like, what's to freak out about? I just went through 13 to 15 years of being chronically ill, and you put something else on my plate, I'm not going to roll over and die.
Right.
Okay? I'm not going to stop. In fact, I am in a better place now with this illness than I've ever been in my life. And within 1 month of being diagnosed, I lowered my symptoms from, like in a calculation of the severity of symptoms, the higher the number, the worse. And I was at a 37 based on this test that I did, and I went down to a 12 within 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so
amazing.
That's just been since January, and I am on my road to, to wherever I want to be, and that is, I am health right now. That is my strongest statement I can make about myself, and like I said, I still have a smile on my face, and I'm not going to let this beat me or anything else, and that is the strongest message that I can put out there. Is just no matter what, just you still have a choice.
Yeah, you do. And I want to reiterate too that in order for the changes that started happening in your life, and I want everybody to hear this, is that you finally made a choice to actually start taking care of yourself, meaning like you actually start putting yourself first and taking care of your diet,
right,
doing exercises, doing the things that you needed to do for you instead of being constantly giving and not doing anything to nurture yourself and being completely depleted. You started taking care of yourself, and that was when the shift started to change.
Sure, absolutely, and in acknowledging the deeper emotions, that's a real key, because sometimes the things that happen to us in our lives, like illness and financial issues and things, relationship problems, these are just really symptoms of something that's deeper in us that is processing. And it's when we avoid grieving or we avoid feeling, that's when we cause that energy to back up in our bodies.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's why it took me so long that first time to get through it, was because I was still trying to process everybody else's emotions. I was still being the coach. I was being the mom. I was being, the friend. I was being the supporter and serving everyone else and avoiding my own. I was avoiding my own stuff. And it just, when I realized that, no, you can't do that anymore. You've got to look at yourself first. And so that was really the key to the biggest self-care nugget is, go to the emotional level and let yourself feel what you need to feel.
And now that you said, I wanted to touch base on that too, because I know that, for myself, we've all had traumatic things that happen, and we spend our entire lives trying to avoid our feelings and do anything to stuff them and not deal with them and distract in any way possible. So what was it like for you, and how did you start to learn to sit with those emotions you had been running from for so long?
I think that because I'm a results-driven person, I realized fairly quickly once I started on that path of self-development and honoring my feelings, I started journaling. It was when I started writing again, when I started journaling and really, writing down my prayers, my meditations, my thoughts, my dreams, when I started to just solidify those things to myself, when I started speaking them out. That was really how things started changing. And I just felt like if I can do this, if I can take this step, then I can take the next step.
Yeah.
And the next step. And one thing I realized along the way, that everything passes. Every feeling that you have, every situation, it passes eventually. It changes. Everything changes. And then in realizing that, eventually that I was not my circumstances. Kellie Stone was not sickness. Kellie Stone is not financial issues. Kellie Stone is not, marriage issues. Kellie Stone is, a vibrant messenger with a story to tell. Is a woman who cares, a woman who wants to see and create the best version of herself that she can to serve herself in the world. When I started realizing who I was and stopped attributing my circumstances to that and stopped connecting those two and thinking that, God, how can you sit here and, teach other people and be any good for other people when your life is such a mess? No, it's the opposite. It's because that's what qualifies me to do it, because my life was such a mess. And you know what? It's still messy some today. It's not, it's no bed of roses sometimes. And it's that is what makes us relatable. That is what creates the bond and the connection between one human to another, is that relatability factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the healing comes.
Yeah. So we've been talking about how you've dropped your baggage. And now I want to talk to you about what living a bliss-filled life actually means to you and looks like for you today, if you don't mind sharing that with our audience.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I already shared a little bit about, how I presently keep a smile on my face and keep the energy flowing. And, really, the big epiphany for me was just realizing that I'm empowered, that I've always been empowered, that I'm not this little weakling person who can't change something in my life. And if I keep that thought that circumstances are just circumstances and they change, and I have the power to create my life, I have the power to create joy and abundance and health in my life. And I also have the choice how I'm going to feel about what's happening in my life. As soon as I realize that, then now it's so much easier. Because even when something goes wrong, like, with the diagnosis, I was like, okay, bring it on. It's like,
yep.
That's all you got? I mean, it's kind of laughing. It's like, seriously? Are you kidding me right now? It's like,
you're like a spiritual warrior.
I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going full force ahead. I'm going to take care of myself while I'm doing that, and I'm doing that. And some things are different, but I try to carry that into the different areas of my life and just try to keep the strongest statement and actually speak those things. Like recently, I am statements. I am health. I am abundance. I am joy. I am truth. I am love. Those are the strongest statements that we can make about our life and really mean that and believe it from the core of your being. That because if you are something, in that moment when you believe that you are something, if I am health, I can't be sick.
Exactly.
It's like, I am a Caucasian woman, so therefore I cannot be a black woman. It's that black and white. It really is. It's like, if I am health, I cannot be sick.
And if you're focusing on sickness, you can't be healthy.
Well, right, and that's exactly right. It's what you focus on. And though I believe that there is, the polar ends of energy, and I believe in the dark and the light, and all the different things that keep us balanced in energy, the positive and the negative. But you get what you focus on. Yep. If you want to focus on being sick, if you want to focus on having a bad marriage or being broke or down and out, and having no confidence, if you want to focus on that, guess what? That's what you're going to get. Yep. If you're going to be sad, if you're going to be depressed, and yes, I understand all those things. I've been through that, and I understand what clinical depression is. I understand that you can't always just change things instantaneously. However, if you just shift one little thing today, take just one little thought. If you're out there and you're depressed or you're sad, and just, one little thought that I am joy, just say it out loud. Even if you don't really believe it, just say it out loud as many times during the day as you can. Look at yourself in the mirror. I am joy. I am happiness. And just start saying it. And it's like this amazing thing happens on the inside that it just changes, because it can't help but change.
Right.
It's the law. It's that law of just attraction, the law of love, the law of spiritual focus. And I don't know what all the laws are. That's, for me, that's how it works for me. I can't say how it's going to work for you, because everybody's different. But that's how I do it.
But it is,
and I keep going.
A simple thought. One little thought changing one thought changes everything. That's just by changing your perspective and focus. So thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So I understand you have an amazing free gift that you want to offer every one of our listeners. Do you want to take a minute to talk about it?
Oh, sure. It's actually something that I developed just to help give women kind of a little bit of a breathing space with the whole, why am I here thing? What is my purpose? It's called 7 Steps to Living on Purpose. And it really is very practical. I literally go through 7 steps and give some practical advice and life nuggets, somewhat, like I've shared here. A little bit different topic, but I really feel like that once we start to focus on, again, what you focus on, you're going to get. So if you start to focus that, there are some deeper passions and purposes and reasons, for your life and the way, it has developed over the years. And when you start to believe that and focus on that, all of that clarity starts to come to you. It unfolds, blooms like a flower to you. And the report that I'm giving away is really to help women to get a foundation of to start them on that path. Really. I mean, it's not everything about it, but it definitely gives some very practical tips and things that you can do today. It's not just like, oh, well, I don't just talk about it and then, okay, well, you're on your own. There's some things that you can really grab a hold of and get started. And really believe that it helps you to, again, bring that focus to your authentic, the real you. The person that's just, may or may not be allowed to come out right now. So, sometimes we really push that authentic person down because we don't feel safe. We feel scared, fear of being who we really are. And I feel like that is, that's one of the things that I really love about my job and, helping women and serving women is helping them to be okay with themselves. Giving them permission to be who they are and to be okay with not being okay sometimes, to love themselves where they are, to start right where they are. You don't have to be some superhero to change your life and to change the world.
Yeah.
So I hope everybody enjoys it. It's like I said, it's just a little facet of what I do, and one of my all-time favorite things to talk about and to help people with is defining their purpose.
Excellent. Well, I just want to take a moment to just remind everyone that happiness is an inside job, and it's equally available to everyone. We're living in a time now where we can choose to drop whatever baggage we've been carrying around. We can drop the old stories. It just starts with a simple choice. You are powerful beyond measure. All you need to do is tap into the divine power that created you and follow the guidance you were given. You were born to be happy, experience joy, and live an abundant, blissed-out, spacious life. So I want to hear from you. So hit reply to this email and share your thoughts with me about what you thought about this interview. Thank you so much, Kellie, for being here. It's been such a pleasure.
You're welcome. My pleasure, Mel. I really enjoyed it.